Ephoberia, a giant centipede that could easily kill any modern animal, and Cameroceras, the largest mollusk that ever inhabited the ocean. In this video, I will tell you about the scariest, most dangerous, and gigantic animals that ever existed on our planet. And at the end, you will learn about a real monster that could effortlessly kill dinosaurs, and its skin could withstand a bullet. Enjoy watching. Watching modern, very dangerous animals, it seems like these tiny cuties can't harm anyone. A tiny scorpion or a small snake, that's what's scariest in our time. Due to their small size, they go unnoticed and easily deal with their prey, but the monsters that lived in ancient times will truly shock you. Today, I have specially selected for you the scariest and most dangerous animals that ever inhabited our planet. And let's start with perhaps the most harmless animal, Paraceratherium. It is the largest land mammal ever to exist on our planet. Just listen to these terrifying numbers: a height of almost 26 feet and a weight of a whopping 20 tons. A real truck in the animal world. Externally, this prehistoric monster resembles a mix of a giraffe and an elephant. And fortunately for all the organisms that inhabited the Earth 30 million years ago, Paraceratherium was a herbivore. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be afraid of it. Just imagine its size, a multi-story house on legs, and this giant could accidentally crush someone. I think it happened very often. That's why I included this wonderful animal in my list. By the way, you could be attacked not only on land, but also in the air. And no, I didn't include the already tiresome pterodactyl, which was a real deadly weapon. I want to tell you about a more astonishing and dangerous machine, and that's Argentavis. You might ask, what is that? It's the largest flying bird ever to exist on Earth. Just listen to these numbers: wingspan almost 26 feet, weight about 154 pounds, and a maximum flight speed of up to 43 miles per hour. Argentavis was so huge that it simply swallowed its prey. It's a real predator. You might ask, why am I so surprised? Well, the largest bird today is an ostrich, and it can't fly. Its size and weight are much smaller, so I'm amazed that such a giant could soar in the air under its own power. Before I learned about Argentavis, I thought it was simply impossible. By the way, this monster had very few rivals. Dinosaurs and other representatives of flora and fauna couldn't compete with the destroyer of all living things. That's why the largest bird in the world was such a long liver. Almost all individuals could reach the age of 100. Personally, I would be very scared to go outside knowing about Argentavis. By the way, do you think the eggs of this bird would make good omelets? Write about it in the comments. In ancient times, there were many gigantic animals and plants. Ferns during the time of dinosaurs were the size of skyscrapers, and animals reached colossal sizes. Why do you think this happened? While you contemplate, I'll tell you what I know. Scientifically proven fact. In ancient times, the amount of oxygen in the air was much higher than it is now. For example, about 300 million years ago, the air contained about 30% oxygen. In our time, this indicator is a third lower. And as you know, for the normal functioning and growth of an organism, a huge amount of oxygen and food is required. That's how true giants were born. Where did so much oxygen come from? Here, we should remember about ferns and other plants. I've already mentioned that trees in ancient times were the size of skyscrapers. They produced a colossal amount of oxygen. High vegetation forced herbivorous animals to increase in size to reach food. And then, along the food chain, carnivores became larger and larger, just like all other predators. With time, real monsters appeared. In my opinion, this theory sounds very plausible. What do you think? But okay, I got a bit distracted from the topic. Next on my list is Titanoboa. You've probably heard this name before, as it is the largest snake in the world, which fortunately became extinct millions of years ago. Listen to this. The length of the specimen discovered in 2004 was 46 feet. The width of the body is almost 3 feet, and the weight is over a ton. A very scary creature. Just imagine, modern anacondas, which can easily swallow an adult human, are 4 times lighter than Titanoboa. It seems that if it wanted to, this monster could devour an entire car with everyone in it. Personally, when I read about this snake, I wondered, how did this monster move? Indeed, anacondas are quite clumsy and slow, so Titanoboa must have been even more sluggish. Dinosaurs and other predators could easily tear it apart. As it turns out, this snake spent most of its time underwater, so it could move quickly. In the water, there is plenty of food, so finding sustenance was easier than ever, and the high temperature in those times allowed the snake to exist comfortably. I would really like to touch it. I wonder, what does it feel like? But there were even more dangerous monsters in the water, and moreover, more well-known. You've all heard of the Megalodon, the world's largest shark that inhabited the Earth millions of years ago. Its remains are still found on the ocean floor, and the size of its teeth is simply mind-boggling. Just imagine, one tooth out of 276 was the size of an adult human's palm, or even larger. It's frightening to think how quickly and easily this titan could devour someone. Although, if a human were to encounter the Megalodon, they wouldn't stand a chance. With its 7-foot jaw, the shark would simply swallow the poor soul. The length of the Megalodon was even greater than that of the Titanoboa, a whopping 50 feet. And the weight of the animal reached 40 tons. A real underwater truck with a trailer, which, by the way, was also very bloodthirsty. As you know, modern sharks often change their teeth. In battles with other ocean inhabitants, they frequently lose them. So, the Megalodon's teeth were so sturdy that they could easily pierce the flesh of whales. And even breaking such a tooth in our time is quite a challenging task. But fortunately, these monsters have long been extinct. The mass extinction of dinosaurs, coupled with a lack of prey, led to the complete disappearance of these specimens. But I wonder, what if the Megalodon existed in our time? It seems that life for all ocean inhabitants would be very challenging. I've already told you about the largest flying bird that ever existed, so it's time to talk about a representative of this species that could never take to the air due to its colossal size. According to information I found just for you, Paraceratherium's birds replaced extinct dinosaurs. These giants completely took over South America and were the most powerful on land. How did this happen? So, just listen to the numbers. A curved beak measuring 1.5 feet with a sharp hook at the end, a towering height reaching 10 feet, and a running speed comparable to a modern cheetah. This is a real monster that no one could escape from. Even in a car, you would have little chance of escaping from this little bird, not to mention other land dwellers. And this monster weighed almost a ton. A real predatory car that could easily swallow a large dog. But don't worry. None of the representatives of modern quadrupeds suffered from these titans. Paraceratherium's birds did not survive until humans arrived in America. Scientists agree that this happened due to competition with placental predators. Animals more adapted to changing conditions displaced the leadership of these insane birds. What do you think? Would the meat of this monster be delicious? Personally, I would really like to try shish kebab, or at least a steak, from a Paraceratherium's bird, although I think such a dish would be very tough. It seems it's time to move on to more mind-boggling animals. Tell me, are you afraid of insects, mosquitoes, bees, ants? How about dragonflies? No? Well then, especially for the brave, I found a real mutant dragonfly, Megalodon. This is definitely something to be afraid of in ancient times. After all, this predatory dragonfly was of an enormous size. Sit down, or you'll fall. Megalodon is the largest known insect to modern science. These dragonflies had a wingspan of 2 feet, although these are only the specimens discovered and preserved to our day. I'm sure there were even larger representatives of this species. At such sizes, the weight of the insect reached several dozen pounds. Well, these cute mutant dragonflies mainly fed on other insects, although I think that with a desire, these monsters could eat anyone. No, really, think about it. A predatory dragonfly the size of a dog, that's something. Fortunately, this monster became extinct about 300 million years ago. In our time, representatives of modern dragonflies are many times smaller, but even they can bite a person quite painfully. Apparently, this monster didn't just bite, it would have bitten off a whole arm. By the way, I completely forgot to mention another important fact. Megalodon larvae were also predatory. And knowing the biological facts about predatory larvae, how they can parasitize in the bodies of animals or other insects, it's terrifying to imagine what these monsters actually fed on. Perhaps if Meganeura had not become extinct, their larvae would have fed on the insides of humans. Okay, I won't scare you, as there's an even more repulsive and dreadful creature ahead. You've probably heard stories about how centipedes constantly crawl into people's homes in hot countries, and indeed, these creatures are very scary and frightening, and many of them are predators. But what scares me the most are stories of how these insects crawled into people's ears, thinking they were burrows. But if modern centipedes were the size of Ephobery, we wouldn't have to worry about our ears. After all, we would be thinking about how to escape from these monsters. Efobery is a millipede that became extinct millions of years ago, back in the Carboniferous period. At that time, these monsters reached a length of 3 feet, although, again, these are only specimens discovered by humanity. Perhaps in those times there were even larger Ephoberys. But what scares me the most is that modern centipedes often prey on birds and mice, and their sizes are several times smaller than those mutants. So, dogs, cats, and even humans would be in danger if such giants existed right now. They say centipedes can chew a tunnel through their ears. I'm sure if this is true, these monsters would gnaw through a person completely. And it wouldn't be easy to squash a centipede, which is larger than some dogs, with a slipper. Alright, I'll finish with these horrors. Let's go back to less terrifying animals. Here, for example, is Cameroceras, a small squid, just 36 feet long, including its shell and tentacles. It seems this is where the stories of the Kraken sinking ships originated. Indeed, the monster's size suggests that it was the apex predator. Representatives of this species ruled the oceans. Scientists assume that Cameroceras inhabited the deep sea, where it fed on crabs, fish, and all ocean inhabitants. Modern squids and octopuses could never compare in size to this monster. It seems we would have had big problems if these giants existed in our time. Imagine Cameroceras could easily sink a small fishing boat. Swallowing a human would be a piece of cake. Scientists claim that these little squids became extinct millions of years ago. But as the ocean is almost unexplored, no one can be 100% sure of this. And I think modern humans would find a way to deal with these monsters. Moreover, the fact that essentially it's a squid would push humanity to hunt them. Maybe the meat of these animals would make an excellent snack. What do you think? Write about it in the comments. And last on my list is Deinocheirus. And don't laugh at this name, as it's perhaps one of the most dangerous and formidable predators of the dinosaur era. No T-Rex and other monsters could compare to it, as Deinocheiruses are even called dinosaur hunters. Essentially, these are huge versions of modern crocodiles. If the length of the largest modern crocodiles rarely exceeds 13 feet, these monsters were about 3 times larger. This is not a little pet caiman that might bite a finger at most. This is a real giant that could swallow you whole. With a massive weight of 4 tons, they could easily overturn clumsy dinosaurs, and their powerful jaws could easily break thick bones and tear flesh apart. Deinocheirus' teeth were so strong that they could easily crack the shells of ancient turtles. They lived, like modern crocodiles, near water sources, lakes and rivers. So, escaping from such a monster was almost impossible. I think in our time, these monsters would easily dominate Africa's waters. Just imagine, Deinocheirus could easily defeat an elephant, and its strong skin would easily protect it from any other predators. If the skin of modern crocodiles can be cut only with a very sharp knife, Deinocheirus' skin wouldn't be pierced even by a gun. These were the most dangerous, frightening, and gigantic animals that ever inhabited our planet. Thanks for watching.